Hey, what's up, guys? I'm just gonna do a quick recap of today's trade. So I went to the 5 minute on this MNQ chart. I was looking for where where was this price action specifically rejecting pretty much. So it was like here and here, right? But there was no closure. I looked at the 5 minute. I found the fair value gap that was rejecting this blocks multiple times. So all I did was mark this level out, and then I marked out all the liquidities, which is these high wicks, right? These high wicks are all liquidities. So I had this marked out. I also had this level marked out here as well, because I wanted to see if price action would go. So these were like all potentially the levels that price action could go up to, right? Not saying that like it can go higher, right? It's good that, you know, we have the level marked out. 757 was one of them. 817 was another one, and 847, and then the highest point was this 907. I'm sorry, 901. And plus, you guys could see that there's a huge gap that needs to get filled here, right? So this right here is a gap. This I don't want to count this whole part because half of it got filled, and then there was just like this little bit more that needed to get filled. So this was like a gap fill here that if market did push up, that we would potentially get. So now we're gonna wait for this 9:30 opening, right? All right, so let me do this replay one more time. Sorry, this was the 5 minute. I'll go down to the 1 minute chart. So now we're gonna wait for this closure above this level. So this was around this like 724, I believe. Yeah, 724.25. If you look at my alert channel, you guys should be able to see that. So we're gonna wait for this level to break. So it broke right there, boom, right? I believe there was like a little pullback, so we take the entry from here. I put the stop loss at the low of this candle, and then TPs were to here, 847, and then higher was this 901. So those were potentially all the TPs that we could run it up to. So we have the closure, we have the stop loss in place. Usually I like to do 50-point stop loss, so it'd be like somewhere around here, and then TPs are to this high. So we're gonna let this play out. That's how I caught the reaction from here. So you guys could see it goes instantly into profit, right? So you guys could see this. It's instantly in profit. Boom, boom. Like literally $0 drawdown. You see how close it came? So it's about like 120 points that came into this. So boom, there you go. That is one of the TPs that got smashed, and then we had the gap fill right here, right? So this is how I determined why I want to use this minute gap instead of any other one. This was the highest point where price action was rejecting. So that's one. Now, throughout the day, there was PO3 levels that were coming through, right? So I'm gonna show you guys. I'm gonna show you guys a PO3 that happened, right? So right here, right? So this was the morning play, right? We called this long. And then there was this where price action accumulated this entire range. You guys see that? Price action accumulated this entire range. And this was accumulation. Manipulation was here where the high, this liquidity here, got swept. Now we're just looking for a way to enter this trade, right? Either a bullish inversion fair value gap, meaning that this gap could potentially get inversed and we could look for the trade. So you see how we had this closure, right? You guys see that? So we had this closure, right? So accumulation, we have this first presented bullish fair value gap that has been touched once, twice, and this is the third time it broke. It closed below. Now what I'm gonna do is look for the shorts from here. Stop loss is at this high. TP potentially to here and potentially lower here. But of course, I'll trail as I go into profit, right? So potential TPs are here and potential TPs are down here. So these are the TPs that I'm potentially looking for. So let's take a sell. Stop loss is at this high. TP to the first TP first, and then we could keep going from there. So 30 points here. So you already see 101 points. So easily accumulation, manipulation to the high because we swept this liquidity. And then we have a bullish fair value gap getting inverse. Remember, so in order to enter a PO3 where it accumulates, right, where price action accumulates, it manipulates up, right? In order to enter here, you need a bullish fair value gap, and then you play the distribution phase. So that's one PO3 right here, right? So now I'm gonna do the other PO3 so you guys could see. Sorry, remove that. So now that was one PO3, great, right? Now this was a second PO3 that we also caught during live. It was here. So same thing again here, guys. Look, same exact model. Accumulation, manipulation, right? It manipulated into this high right here. This high that you guys can see, this high, it took that. So now this fair value gap is the fair value gap we want to see get inversed, right? So now in order to enter that, we need a bullish fair value gap, which we have here. And we want this bullish fair value gap to get inversed, and we take the short from there. So you could also take it from here. There's a bearish CISD at this high, right? You could also take it from here, but let's just say we waited for this closure here. Okay, boom, we got the closure. We're gonna take the sell. Stop loss needs to be at this high, right? So we don't want price action to come back and revisit that area. TPs, of course, you see this liquidity right here, this wick. This is a potential liquidity that we want. And we also said, I believe it was right here, 990. I believe it was also 990. This is one of the liquidities that we wanted. So we're gonna let this trade play out. It was like 50-point stop loss here, and we're gonna go from here. Let's see. So remember, stop loss at the high. We shouldn't come back and tag us out. You see how it came close but it didn't tag us out? So speed this up. See that? So here you already had like 41 points. I believe we were looking for this level, this 990. So over here, by this time, you could always look for, right, before this went up, this stop loss, you could have brought it into profit, right? So this is the great beauty about the trading, right? Like, you're getting about 57 points here. Of course, I'm not saying you have to get it always to the second tier, but think about it. You're in profit for 57 points. You're going to make crazy amount of money. And this is no brainer. It had a 49-point stop loss, but you're making 57 points. So it's a great win risk to reward ratio, right? So that's another PO3. Accumulation, manipulation to the high, inversion of a bullish fair value gap, boom, dropped. So that's another one, right? Let's do the other fair value gap now. Okay. And now same thing here, right? Look at this. Let me see. Okay, same thing is here, right? Look at this. Accumulation, manipulation. We took this liquidity right here, right? This equal liquidity here, which got, remember this original PO3, accumulation, manipulation, and then distributed. So now we took this liquidity. Now in order to enter the trade, you could do a couple ways, right? I like to either using the fair value gap here to enter the trade, or a bullish CISD, right? So right here, I got the bullish CISD after we swept this liquidity, right? We swept this liquidity, but this wasn't a bullish CISD because you have to also wait for an internal sweep. So you had the liquidity sweep, and then you had an internal liquidity, meaning this liquidity got taken out. There's a bullish CISD here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the long position from here, take a buy. Stop loss is at this low of this wick. TP back up to this high, or potentially even to this high, right? You could do either or, whichever one you're comfortable with, or however many points you're willing to risk, you could do it like that. So 45 points pretty much to risk here. So let's play this out. That means this stop loss should never come back and get hit. So 40 points, 50 points right there. So by this time we get around here, like I would pretty much already sold out. Just saying. So I would bring this into profit, you know what I mean? So you see how it now price action reverse. Remember, your objective is to catch that little piece of that pie and exit that position. You don't need to be holding it for that long. You just need to take a little bit. Look at that, 68 points, by the way, from that entry. So that's about $1,300. Boom, done. Easy. Accumulation, manipulation, sweep the liquidity. You have the market structure shift with the bullish CISD, and then boom, 68 points was delivered. That's it.